Hello, faint starlight. It was a very nice and well presented point, very clear your points there, and I wanted to take part in the conversation that you described. I'm not planning to answer Fantastic Babbling's question in this response, but more respond to some of the uh, points you made, or really look into some of the concepts. Um, I think it was well presented, and also I agree with you. I like the sound of the candidate you described. Someone that cares about the truth, that's very important. Also, meaning by truth, a non-dogmatic truth that's based in reality with evidence, a skeptical or scientific approach to the truth. On the single issue candidate, I think I agree with you in spirit, because we as voters should never be single issue. I think the single issue voter might even just be sort of a myth and a boogeyman. I haven't really met anybody. I've met some pretty ardent single issue people in the sense that they spend a lot of their time, advocating for a particular issue, and even they will usually be strong advocates for another position. Maybe they don't devote their activism or political activism effort to, but they'll, when they're voting for a candidate, they'll take these other ones into account. But the single issue candidates do exist, and they actually serve an interesting role. And we should also consider the single issue groups like the Sierra Club, and what role do they play, because it's related to the single issue candidates. The single issue candidates bring up an issue to the public eye. They make this issue part of the debate. They're never viable. Very rarely are they viable unless the issue is so compelling, legitimately or otherwise, like war. People might elect, a war president. But even then, very unlikely that a single issue candidate is going to win. Their purpose really is to push issues into the public dialogue, which of course can be very annoying, especially if you're already aware about the issue, or they're not a good vessel for that message or whatever. So I'm not really differing with you there in that it's annoying, and I also would not really consider seriously a candidate like that. But I don't want any negative attitude about that to reflect on the idea of this single issue advocacy, because it's important. Something like the Sierra Club is a lot like a measuring stick, a ruler. It's a metric. The Sierra Club is out there measuring, and that's something we use to measure a candidate on environmental issues. And that's very important. It's like with a ruler, it has to be, inches and distance. It can't be distance and temperature. I mean, you could have that, maybe, a ruler with a thermometer on it or something. But, you know what I mean? That would really be two things glued together. And so it's kind of like single issue groups as part of analysis. And political analysis, these people help us, rate the candidates, and we can have a trust or not for the Sierra Club's ability to rate a candidate's value. The Sierra Club might endorse a Republican. They don't actually want a Republican Congress, but they have measured one candidate as a single issue, one-dimensional measure, and that's information. That's a lot of what you do. Okay, well, I've probably gone on too long about that. But still, I mean, even so, I think I agree with you, because really, the voters should not be single issue. That's silly. Not even sure. I think that would be hard to find. I really wanted to talk about, how long has it been going on? Too long. Unipolarity. There is something there I want to expand the thinking on. I think we in America, even Europe, just in general, in the West, so to speak, we believe that there's unipolarity now. For example, we believe that we are the world. There isn't unipolarity now. There's China, and China is quiet about its power to the point that we could pretend we are unipolarity, that we are the universal power, that we are the monopole. Well, I don't really think there's a big debate. You can argue that they don't really count because they're not asserting their power, but they are. The power is still there. They have these economic ties and investment ties, and even if they were not tied to the West, and we really were our own world, and you could call it a unipolarity situation because it was somehow isolated, well, it still is not control of the whole world, because in a sense that's impossible, because we are behaving with them in mind. Our behavior with North Korea, our behavior with Taiwan, our behavior with Hong Kong, our behavior with the whole world is affected by the fact that there's these billions of people in Asia, and that the huge power there being China, it's not really that subtle. It's sort of very Western that we're ignoring it just because it's like just huge, making everything and industrializing it a huge. They're just creating cities out of nothing over there in China. They're just like, we want to develop. It's you can't ignore it. This is real power. They have real power, and so there hasn't been a unipolarity situation. And I think insofar as we are isolated, it isn't stable. But again, in the end, I'm really, I'm agreeing with what you said. I mean, I'm going into parts that we may diverge, but basically, you were saying that this was an important issue, and I totally agree. It's absolutely, really one of the most important issues. And I'll end with the related point that someone who cares for all humanity, I'm totally with you on that. All the lives are important. We should be counting the deaths of Iraqi civilians and reporting them. That should be important to everybody. And the whole world is made of living beings with inherent worth to their lives and their potential. And so that's a good message. Anyway, thank you very much again, Faint Starlight, and I hope to